Hey everybody, I hope you are doing well. I'm a Fefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. And today I want to jump on here. Usually I'm an intuitive tarot reader and I do a lot of self-growth, personal empowerment, dealing with our spiritual guides, increasing our psychic powers and gifts and things like that. I also, as a former journalist, I also do videos on current state of politics. So that is what I want to talk to you about. Get on here and talk to you all about today. As always, we have a full slate of things happening in the world around us, and certainly here in these here United States. Have to put some quotation marks around United these days, right? A couple of things I want to check in with you on. The main thing is what sparked me, and Spirit said get on here and let's take a look and talk about it. Is what I'm going to call the Texas Hold'em that's going to take place on Thursday. We have both Joe Biden and Donald Trump headed to Texas to the border towns of Trump's going to Eagle Pass. Biden is going to Brownsville, about 300 miles apart, they're saying. And of course, there's already some stuff being made about that, Trump is going to Eagle Pass, where there's the whole thing with, the razor wire fences and sort of ground zero of a lot of what's been happening with the migrant crossings. And Biden took the easier route by going to a place like Brownsville, which is certainly impacted as another border town, but apparently not as much brouhaha has been going on there. We'll see what happens in terms of the optics of both of those places. However, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a couple of things I want to look at first before we go there. It's going to be an interesting turn of events, and I think the timing of it could not be more pivotal for Biden especially, but also in terms of Mafia Don and his agenda. We know that he's basically been holding the GOP hostage, the Senate GOP hostage, and House especially hostage around government funding and voting for what we thought was going to be a deal between tying border funding to Ukrainian aid. That blew up. Biden thought he had a nice signed, sealed, delivered deal. That blew up, and now we're in flux, and we've come to find out, the GOP extremists have been given their marching orders from Trump to hold off on anything in relation to that because he wants to be able to come in and take credit for it. Okay, again, we'll get to that. One thing that gave me a little bit of the willies, you all, as the old folks used to say, the willies, Michigan primary was held, and we know that, of course, Donald knocked out Haley in that. No surprise. But we also know that there were a significant number of what were being called the uncommitted votes. Sizable number. Biden did okay, won. But there were a sizable number of those votes, and now apparently that has caught on with many people who are upset with Joe Biden's handling, his administration's handling of the Israeli Hamas Gaza whole, the war. There are talks about a ceasefire. I understand that Biden was on, I didn't see it, but he was on late night with, who was it, Seth Meyers. And he said he anticipated that there will be a ceasefire agreement in place by Monday, March 4th. Other sources are like, no way, it's not happening that soon. But there is still, conversation and I think increasing pressure to do something. Many people are saying in advance of Ramadan. But going back to the Michigan primary, this whole, if there is going to be a surge in this uncommitted vote, especially in swing states, is there a chance of that truly impacting Biden's bid? So I've got the King of Swords at the bottom of the deck and the King of Wands on the other. I feel like this is the two candidates actually. King of Swords. In this instance, I'm feeling very often I associate Trump with fire just because he's so, his rising sign is, he's a Gemini, but his rising sign is Leo, if I'm not mistaken, and his moon is in Sag. So he's got a lot of fire in him. But in this case, I feel like it's Joe Biden who's got the fire within him at this time. And I think it's that Gemini is kicking in on Donald Trump in terms of, his mind going this way and that, really trying to be, as always, a little underhanded in his portrayal of what he's saying, keeping his base satisfied, giving them the red meat that they want and have grown accustomed to by this time, but also everything done with an ulterior motive, never for the right motive. So this trip, I'm sorry, not trip. I'm going to Texas already. Got to hold off on that. Thank you, Spirit. I'm getting there. But I do want to see if this uncommitted vote is going to become an increasing trend as we move into the election season. I got the sun, you all. It's been given life. That's how I feel. That's how this feels to me, because the sun represents life. It represents what grows. It represents, and also in a timing aspect, it takes us into the summer. The sun ruled by Leo, or Leo ruled by the sun. So there's, between now and the summer, yes, I think that this uncommitted vote is going to be, there's going to be more of a groundswell of people who are saying, listen, I don't have anything against Joe Biden. I would love to vote his way, but, and there's the tower. Dig it. Yeah. And we knew it. Pluto in Aquarius, those of us who follow astrology, we knew 2024, we're in for a wild ride. No two ways about it. But yeah, there we have the tower. I think to some extent, this is also saying that this is sort of made Biden and his cabinet members sort of go, whew, this ish just got real, right? This is going to be a thing. And there's going to have to be some, I'm feeling like Ace of Pentacles, confirmation. Ace of Pentacles, my aces are confirmation for me. When I'm on a topic, that spirit way, that's how the guides work with me. They come through with aces to say yes. This, though, I think it's going to be a slow thing, and I think that Biden's camp can get out in front of it. But what I'm feeling and sensing the guides are giving me, you all, is it is imperative for him to get some Muslim surrogates, people who are willing to, to be seen, that he will have talks with them, that he will go into communities more face to face, more open willingness to say, I understand your position. He's done some of that. I know some of you, we're all Biden diehards, and some people are going to get on here and fuss at me if I go too tough on Biden. I get it, but I do think he's going to have to step it up. He's going to have to step so many things up, as we all know. But he's going to have to find both, Spirit is saying both surrogates, and their nationality, ethnicity will matter. Sorry about that. So who's going to do that? Because that puts also double pressure on them. Whoever, if it is someone of Palestinian descent, or, and we know it's not going to be, I can't think of her name. You know who I'm talking about. The one Palestinian Congress member. Gosh, I'm looking right at her face. These 60s, y'all, they're real. Okay, but anyway, it ain't going to be her. She's not going to be that surrogate. I don't know who it will be, but it seems to me Spirit is saying that's the direction he's going to have to go in. Secondly, moving on. So yes, the uncommitted vote is a thing that they're going to have to step it up and deal with it. Second thing, Terrence Bradley in Georgia, on the Georgia case, took the stand yesterday for 2 hours apparently and fell apart, just collapsed, just doubled back on everything he ever said. Didn't claim these so-called text messages that he had shared with what is her name? Ashley Merchant. She's the attorney for one of the co-defendants, Roman, who kind of got all this brouhaha started around Fani Willis and Nathan Wade's relationship. So apparently there were some text messages exchanged, I guess, early on in the investigation as they were framing their case, and Terrence Bradley was supposed to be their supposed star witness. Didn't go so well. He went from, what he said he knew to now everything was just speculation on his part. So, that's kind of blown up as well. That whole thing, that whole investigation just seems to be going nowhere, but it has certainly garnered a lot of attention. I do think that it has been harmful to Fani Willis's image to a certain extent, but she still has, she has her detractors, but she certainly has people who are in her corner. What I want to take a look at is to see whether Judge McAfee said apparently all the briefings from both sides need to be turned in by this Friday, and then afterward he will render his decision. I want to go to Spirit and ask what will be Judge McAfee's decision in the Fani Willis investigation case. Fani Willis, Nathan Wade investigation case. How will Judge McAfee rule? King of Swords. Three of Cups. Celebration. It's going to be fine. And the world is over. It's done. I said what I said. So I'm pulling, I feel like that's Judge McAfee, King of Swords. That's his energy for me there. With the Three of Cups. Celebration. Like, Fani and them pop the champagne, and the world, it's over. It's done. Time for us to close a chapter on this and get on with the business of finally getting closer to scheduling some sort of date or dates for the upcoming trials in Georgia. All right, so that's a done deal. Judge McAfee's gonna handle that. Call it quits. There was not enough proven and not enough evidence to disqualify Fani Willis. Now, Nathan Wade and whether he will still stay on, because I think he was a lead prosecutor. I think he was hired as a lead prosecutor. So will Nathan Wade stay the course on the case, Spirit? Ten of Swords. He's stressed out between his divorce case, the attention, for everything that was pointed towards Fani as the DA. She came out more sympathetic than him, for sure. Not that there's a lot about her that's sympathetic, because that woman is a fighter. But Ten of Swords, yeah, he's certainly worried about keeping his job, and the extent to which now that so much light has been shed and so much, and the Ten of Cups. I feel like he's looking at his family and his friends, his life. I'm not so sure that he's going to be able to stay on, and it could even be not a matter of him being dismissed. What cause is there, especially if the investigation and the ruling comes out that there wasn't enough to disqualify them. But I do think enough damage has been done that he may wind up resigning. It's just gonna, as long as those two are working together, the spotlight would be on them so closely. It's gonna be a distraction. And the Five of Wands, there's too much conflict. He's gonna make his way out. All right, let's move on. Enough time on him. So Texas border showdown. I would be interested to hear from you all in the comments. I'm thinking that's the journalist in me, the ex-journalist, or once one, always one. But I started thinking, the timing of this was really interesting. Like, who knew? There are people who say, oh, Biden's just going because he knew that Trump had scheduled the visit. And then, of course, people in Biden's camp said didn't have anything to do with that. We were planning this. We knew that this needed to be done. I am wondering the extent to which some of the timing of this is in the wake of the killing of, what was her name? Laken Riley, that nursing student at the University of Georgia, who it turns out was killed by a Venezuelan illegal. Lots of people up in arms about that. I found, of course, we've got some old reliables that we know went on X and other forms of social media, jumped on that chance to point fingers. We've got, the Mayorkas situation going on regarding his handling of the border. But one of the people, who is it? Brian Kemp, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp came out and said, Laken Riley's tragic death struck the hearts of Georgians everywhere and has sparked national outrage. Joe Biden's failed policies have turned every state into a border state, and I'm demanding information from him so we can protect our people when the federal government won't. That just, wow. All right. Ron DeSantis, of course, anything regarding, any chance he gets to still have to be heard, because he's coming back. He'll be back for 2028. It says, a quote from him says, The combination of open borders and sanctuary and soft on crime policies is deadly. The illegal alien who murdered Laken Riley had recently been arrested in New York and then released, talking about soft policies. Apparently, this guy, what was his name? Jose Ibarra, 26 years old. Laken Riley was 22. Again, she was a nursing student. So apparently, this Ibarra person had in fact last year, apparently he's been in the country since 2022 illegally. In 2023, summer of 2023, he was in fact detained, perhaps arrested in New York based on supposed violence against a minor. Haven't seen any other details in reference to that, but eventually he was not prosecuted or anything. He was let go. Who knows why? But so there you have somebody like DeSantis that says, see what I mean? It just, our policies are not working. And these murderers are being left on, to go freely, roam freely on our streets. The final one, because I think his position at this time is, like it or hate it, is important in this debate. And that's House Speaker Mike Johnson. And he said, the brutal murderer who took the life of Larkin was one of the millions of illegal aliens that the Biden administration simply released and unleashed on our country. Sounds like a page taken right out of Trump's book. But again, that makes me wonder, something around the timing of this, this Texas Hold'em showdown, is what Spirit said in my ear. If some of this is, had to be done. Now was the time. Had to be done. And who knows whose camp heard who was going first, whether it was Biden or Trump. But either way, they're both going to be there quite a big distance apart. The optics of both of their talks and visits, really going to be interested to see that. Also, I want to ask Spirit, I think it will be very, very powerful if Joe Biden actually appears with some of the migrants. And the extent to which he's given, talking about optics, talking about the extent to which we understand more forcefully what his plans are. We also understand that a lot of that is dependent on what is happening in Congress and the extent to which that is still, the border crisis is still being tied to aid for Ukraine. It's a tough one. I have the Empress. I don't know who that is. That feels for me like it's going to be someone, it feels like it's someone in Biden's camp or someone who comes out to help escort Biden, who's going to have a large visible presence during his visit to help the flow of it, help how it looks. The King of Pentacles. Yeah, he's going there as a stabilizing force. And to some extent, though, that also feels like it could be the Texas governor who, the Nine of Swords. Okay, got it. That's the governor. He's in knots because he knows, this whole militarization issue and, I'm going to keep if the feds take down some of these wire fences, I'm just going to have my people rebuild them and damn if anybody's going to stop me, right? We know how belligerent he's been. And then there were all these talks of succession and all of that. We'll deal with that on another taping. But I have the Devil. Not surprised. And I have the Six of Wands. Okay, so the spiel and the Eight of Cups. Okay, got it. The spiel, I think, from both of them actually is going to highlight some of the reality of the situation, that it is harmful, not in terms of people coming over as a criminal element. Part of the Pew study that I looked at when I read those quotes to you earlier, they were actually from a Pew research article, and I trust they're pretty impeccable with their research. But they have done studies on. They said that 57% of Americans do believe that migrants. The entry of so many migrants into the country leads to more crime. 57%. But in fact, when they've done an independent study, it turns out that most migrants who cross over are less than half as likely to commit violent crimes than those who are born in the U.S. And that's not the first time we've heard this. We've heard this many times. Um, but it's just a matter of how both Biden is able to communicate that message, and we know that Trump is going to go in the absolute opposite direction. He wants to do the fear mongering, and he's going to show up there to basically fan the flames of those, who are afraid, who are, that land, as I understand it, in Eagle Pass, I think there was an area that was actually a park. So the people there, the residents there, their lives have been so upended by all of this. And I think that Trump is going to, now he's showing up for me as the King of Wands. That's usually how I see him. Either that or the Emperor with this inflated sense of self. But he's going to do his usual. It's almost predictable. Any of us could almost write the speech for him. It'll be interesting to see how the two of them stick to their script, because we know that they have both, that whole age issue, they have both been known to make a few flubs here and there. Be very interesting to see how accurate they both are. The Ten of Pentacles, yeah. Biden's and the Two of Cups, 100%. Biden's mindset doing this, you all, is really about showing that he has a plan to secure the border. He has people that he knows can put things into effect, can really have an impact to increase security at the border, while where's my Ten of Pentacles, while getting the funding that he needs, both for the government and for Ukraine. That is not going away. He is he's very tied to that. He's very committed to that. And I think also with us seeing Zelensky in recent weeks and months, I think just yesterday or maybe today, he was in Albania meeting with the prime minister there. The European countries are sort of going, whoa, we may in fact have to step it up, because the U.S. is looking a little wobbly right now, and we know why. All of this in Congress is playing out before in the world stage. There's a Nine of Wands. So on Trump's side, so Trump is going to play on people's sympathies. He's going to play on their fears. He's going to do the usual. He's going to do what's expected. I don't see him moving any real needles there. This is really about posturing and just showing up. I almost wonder, I am tempted, spirit is kind of in my ear, I'm tempted to believe that it may have been his camp who got wind that Biden's camp was going to do this, because that's why he's there. He has really nothing to offer other than to, gin up the juices of that base, right? But Biden really does have something to accomplish here, which is to quiet and stem fears that, first of all, he has not really been active in that area in person in terms of making visits. I think I saw he hasn't been to Texas since early last year, maybe over a year ago. And we know that this migrant crisis has been heating up. So some of this is long overdue. He recognizes that. Queen of Swords. He recognizes that. I think that might be that's someone in his camp. But what he's going to do, Two of Pentacles, he's going to stress partnership. He's going to stress the need for bipartisanship, bipartisan solutions to the border, and his willingness, his continued willingness to have discussions and meet these leaders and bring them together. We know that he just had, the little summit in his office. Of course, Kamala was there as vice president, but we had Schumer there, we had Johnson there, we had Jeffries there, and who am I missing? Who's the fourth? Somebody will tell me. How could I forget Mitch McConnell? So they were there. What got accomplished, we don't know. We've also heard that McConnell is increasingly, doing this with Mike Johnson. But Mike Johnson is sitting in Trump's lap. I mean, we know this. We know that they've developed a relationship. We know that he's gotten his orders. We've seen the little twist and turn with Trump lately, with all of the references to Christianity and playing up to the evangelical base. And a lot of that is coming from Mike Johnson. I truly, absolutely, it's coming from Mike Johnson. Okay, so wrapping this up, Nine of Pentacles. You know, I think we're gonna avert the government shutdown. There is going to be it's just going to be a matter of who blinks first. There is going to be funding for border security. There's going to be more of a commitment from Biden's administration for border security. The question mark will be how much he is willing to give in reference to tying that funding and those plans to implement that directly to aid for Ukraine. There may be I'm feeling like there may be just a little bit of a reconfiguration there. Am I right with that, Spirit? Four of Cups. Yeah, he doesn't want to do that. He's really trying not to do that. But the Seven of Pentacles is like stuck, almost like I don't like this solution. I don't like the idea of having to pull back on something that I promised Zelensky, promised the world, promised other global leaders, world leaders, that the U.S. got this. That, remember when all of this happened, Biden said, we are in this until however long until is, Ukraine will have our assistance. And now here we are 2 years later, and it's looking, and it ain't looking Eight of Cups. It's looking like there's a pullback, and there may have to be, for some practical reasons, not abdication. I'm not in, but the Hermit. There's kind of a back to the drawing board with that. And I almost get the sense that in terms of the election, because we know that so much of what's happening with this visit is around that, then in terms of the election, Biden may feel increasingly like he's being put in a position that he's got to handle things on the domestic front, even as he continues to juggle and figure out how to keep his word on the global front. All right. So it'll be interesting to see how that game of Texas Hold'em turns out. Let me have your thoughts. I'd love to, get your comments back on here, and I'll be checking back in with you real soon. Take care of yourselves. Be safe out there.